Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast here with Benji Naesen, as always, and the Rat Thing, hashtag LRCP, for the Astana 2022 preview. Astana Qazaqstan is their official name for 2022. Change of name, lots of changes to talk about here, but before we get into those changes, our show partner, Lacole, who've supported the podcast, not just throughout the entirety of this year, our show partner, Lacole, but also in 2020 since the Giro d'Italia. Then they have a end-of-year challenge, Lacole, on Strava. So if you join Lacole's latest Strava challenge, Lacole have a club, an organization on Strava. Join that challenge, and if you record 400 minutes of activity, you go in for a chance to win £3,000, which is, I'm not going to do the euro conversion. It's a lot in AUD, that's for sure, of new Lacole season kit and a Wahoo full kicker ecosystem. We have the link down below to lacole.cc. They produce performance cycling apparel. And yes, if you want to go into the chance to win that draw, the latest Strava challenge is what you should sign up for. But Benji, Astana Qazaqstan, a team that was dear to your heart. I just want to check in before we do the season recap. The most important thing, are you still blocked on Twitter by Astana Qazaqstan?
I'm afraid, yes. The deal has not been fixed, and I'm very desperately trying to look over the wall, trying to see some transfer announcements, but I'm just short, and I can't look over the wall, and I guess I'm going to have to find out what they did in the off-season in this podcast.
I'm going to have to drive to Monaco and personally ask Vinokurov what's going on, because there's been a lot of changes. So we interviewed Jana Seal. She was like the managing director of Astana. I don't know. She's half Kazakh, half Belgian, I think. And she was appointed to that role. And then Vinokurov went into more of a sporting role, and she was more doing management. Premier Tech came on as sponsor. I think a Canadian agricultural machinery company. Not quite sure. And I'm just, I'm doing this story off the top of my head, and we haven't spoken about it yet. And then Vinokurov, it was found during this year, was ousted. He was fired from his own team, the Astana, the Kazakh legend, put out and we all knew Vinokurov doesn't go down without a fight. He put out predictably on Instagram, "I will be back" message. Premier Tech and then suddenly he came back. And when it was announced that Vinokurov was coming back, I was like, I was pretty sure. It seemed to me Jana Seal was part of the architect of the coup, and it was her and Premier Tech wanting to move Astana into more of a traditional business, normal business team with business sort of corporate sponsors rather than just like Kazakh owned and sponsored. But when Vinokurov came back, it then was no surprise to me that Jana Seal was out. He resumed full control, and she's going to Lotto Soudal. Premier Tech with Vino coming back are out. Don't know where they're going. Israel muted, because that's where Fulsang is going. So a lot's changed. Vino's back in control. They just had the fantastic team reveal in, I think, Nur Sultan in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is now part of the name of the team. I think they got some other state-owned company sponsors, maybe, or private sponsors, but that's what's happened. Fun stuff. But their season, Benji, it kind of mirrored that chaos that I just mentioned, with not a great one for a team that can sometimes have really top results.
Yes, certainly. If we take a look at all their wins and we take away the national championships, they've got 7 wins, which is not exactly what you're looking for with a team of this quality. And you would expect a rider like Vlasov to deliver more victories, but we know that he's not the kind of rider that has the ability of beating Slovenians, beating Ineos Terrain, Bernal, for example. So he's always kind of short, getting third, getting second, getting fourth in races, and we see that in GC as well. Giro getting fourth, Vlasov. We've got Paris-Nice getting second, but then again, that's kind of third because Roglic would have won that. We all kind of know that if we watch that race. Third in Tour of the Alps. So it's all close, but it's not what it should be, I would dare to say, because I still believe that Vlasov should win at least one race outside of the Russian ITT in a year, and that's not the case here.
Well, just as a point of reference, last year they won 4 World Tour races, including two Tour de France stages, of Vuelta stage, Lombardia, And Vlasov, as you mentioned, he won Giro dell'Emilia and Mont Ventoux Challenge and a Provence stage. And then they had a lot of other .pro wins of quite a good standard at Andalusia, etc. So, yeah, it's not what particularly Vlasov they'd be expecting from the likes of Vlasov and Fulsang.
The season would honestly look even worse if it wasn't for the Messiah himself, Alex, the cycling guru, Aramburu, striking in Itzuya stage 2, because without that fire under the butts of Astana riders, without Aramburu putting them into the mode of winning, they would never have gotten any more welter wins. But because of that Aramburu victory, Izagirre was able to do so as well in Itzulia, and then Lutsenko in Criterium du Dauphiné. And it's kind of interesting if you look at those races where they were not the favorites in those races and they won from underdog positions. Aramburu attacking away right before the, was it a bit of an uphill sprint, I think, where was it Freiler who came second? Vaguely remember that?
Yeah. They were so good.
And then we've got Izagirre with that, was it that rainy day in Rome? No, it wasn't Itzulia. Was it also a rainy day? What stage was it? Izagirre
I just remember bad, sketchy descents and the Basque Astana riders just going mental on all these stages. I think he beat Bilbao in a sprint. It was like a reduced sprint. He beat Bilbao. Or I think...
Oh, yeah.
No, it's the McNulty one. one. They went on a descent. McNulty went and with Jonas or someone, and Pogacar didn't chase. So, yeah, that was a great little finish as well. But no Grand Tour stages, no monuments. I'm not sure where they got some top 10s in monuments. They're not relevant in the classics. They got 4th in the Giro with Vlasov, which is not a bad result, and 7th in the Tour with Lutsenko. Again, I think that's a good result for Lutsenko.
Yeah,
7th in the Tour, but I don't know. That's what they decided to do. Is that better than he won a Tour stage on Agual last year from a break? This is a guy who can win Tour de France stages from the break. So I personally don't know whether teams which one they value more. I feel like a stage is bigger than 7th, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. It's like on the edge for me. 7th is like on the edge. Perhaps 9th and 10th I'd start doubting, because you do get a lot of clout if you win a stage, of course. But is that worth it for the team? Probably. But I don't know. I feel like the Vuelta is the main issue here. We've got a Vuelta where they don't necessarily have someone that was competing for the top steps of GC at all. And they send a team that was striking the stages. They wanted to get stage wins. That's the entire motto they brought out when announcing their team for the Vuelta. And the only stage they, in my opinion, came the closest to was that bloody Aramburu time trial at the start. And this is not even an Aramburu biased statement. It's like they failed the Vuelta. And I recall them having quite a few crashes in that race, but they still should have done better.
Well, could they? Okay, let's see. They relied so much this year on the Izagirre brothers, Lutsenko, and the Spanish riders, Izagirre's and Luis Leon Sanchez. Like Luis Leon Sanchez, at 38 years old, he did 83 race days and 2 Grand Tours, almost all at World Tour level. He got absolutely flogged this year. And I think given he was good at Catalunya, he got in the break when he was fresher. He got flogged. And then Jonas
milking the contract.
Jonas Izagirre, 82 race days, and 3rd at Paris, quite a good result. But yeah, they relied on them. The cobbled team, there isn't one. Like, frankly, their cobbled team, it might be the worst in World Tour. It's so bad. Like, Lutsenko's the best cobbled rider, and he actually has been good at like Eneco Tour before. But yeah, I think the Vuelta, Benji, was just the result of Javier Romo and Oscar Rodriguez perhaps not being where they need, or Harold Tejada, guys who maybe a year and a half ago I would have been like, I reckon they could be going for Vuelta breaks and etc. And then the other more experienced guys being overworked. And Stefan de Bod, who was the same age, I think, before the Vuelta as Chris Froome was before his 2011 Vuelta, same height, same weight, went to school in the same country, and same sort of mediocre TT background. He didn't do the Froome, so maybe they expected De Bod to do the Froome in 2011, but he didn't. So that's their year. I think no Grand Tour stages, no monuments. With the money they're paying Fulsang Co, got to be a disappointment. But Vino's back, Benji, and we've got a new team. We've got almost an entirely new. Some heads have rolled.
Kazakhstan, that's how we should call them this year.
When you look at the transfers out, Benji, no Kazakhs have been transferred out, just one retirement, and the Canadian's gone. I'll run through who's out. Fulsang to Israel. I don't mind it. Salary off the books, fine. Louis Leon, Izagirre brothers, Vlasov, surprising the best Russian GC contender they've let go, but Bora came for him after the Giro last year. His last year. Kudus, Freyler, Aaron Baru, Ugo Ull, Oscar Rodriguez, Matteo Sobrero, Italian. I'm surprised by that. Benjamin Perry, Jonas Gregard going to UNOX, Contreras to EPM, Piccolo. I think Piccolo left mid-year to go back to he's like a young talented rider.
Wasn't it? I vaguely remember an injury in his past, but I don't remember much about it.
Yeah, he was only on Astana till May, so that doesn't really count. But yeah, you mentioned Contreras in a previous podcast, but there's not many wins going out the door, just Vlasov GC performance.
If you don't have many, you can't have many go out the door, mate.
Exactly, high IQ plays. I don't mind them letting those riders go, except it depends. Like I actually think Covitus paid Johnny Izagirre a fair chunk of change. Aaron Baru, I would have liked him to keep. I feel like maybe Movistar came in with a lot of money. What do you think about the guys going out?
I think that I've got the same opinion as you. I do believe that Izagirre and Ion and Horka probably had one of their worst seasons, as in like winning a Grand Tour stage, because they have none this year. Fulsang, arguably one of his worst seasons in the last few as well. He had his wonderful season. Didn't he win Lombardia in 2020?
Last year.
Yeah, that was last year. Jesus.
Barely a year ago.
It feels like ages ago.
They destroyed Bennett and Trek.
Yeah, and then this year he was nowhere. And yeah, I don't know. Vlasov, certainly a good climber, but he's also not a Slovenian. He's not that kind of rider. But I do think that Vlasov is going to win more races than what he did this year, because it's not that hard to win more than this year.
I think he's a good hilly one-day racer. I actually worry about him on the longer climbs at the moment.
His Giro 4th is not bad. Do you think that he could step up into a podium position?
His climbing was so bad this year. Like, so bad.
Like, relative to the winners, of course. Like, it's relative to us.
Relative to him in 2020.
Yeah.
Like, he won Mont Ventoux Denneval Challenge last year. Like, okay, it's not the biggest. I understand it's not the biggest race, but he lost time on every mountaintop finish, and in some cases, a lot of time. So I think he's a good, like, he won Giro dell'Emilia. I think he's actually a low-key good hilly one-day racer. And he didn't do the hilly one-day Ardennes races. I want to see him he came 6th at Fournadesh. I want to see him at Liège next year. See how he goes. His TT obviously improved leaps and bounds, and apparently Benji, so Bora wanted their new guys to go do wind tunnel testing in Cali, and he couldn't go because they couldn't sort his visa out in time. So
oh boy,
he missed out on the wind tunnel testing.
Can't they do that another moment then? Or is it just, you can only do it this part of the season, otherwise no wind tunnels for you?
I don't know. I reckon having your wind tunnel testing not in Europe is not optimal. If you're running a European World Tour team.
Okay.
I reckon, yeah, I sort of agree, like, surely they can get that done elsewhere. But yeah, going to Bora, it's the sort of guy you'd expect them to keep, though. Like, 25, you can be ambitious for his continued improvement. Why aren't they keeping Alexander Vlasov? Like, surely...
Money. They can't afford him.
You reckon?
I think so. I think that Bora's paying him more than Astana could. Because Premier Tech is leaving. Astana has to ask Kazakhstan if they want to use the treasure of the government to buy more riders, and the government was probably like, we can't afford Vlasov. So I think that's how it went.
And maybe they are, because he's left Andorra. I think he's in Monaco now. So maybe Bora are paying a fairly hefty sum. But yeah, the riders that have come in, though, so they're their transfers out. I actually don't really have a problem per se with any riders leaving Astana in, like, there's no young riders there. Like, Amber is not that young. Sorry, Benji, where I'm like, I can't believe they let this guy go. Although
and now I can see him on Twitter again.
True. And the guys that are coming in, though, so Astana are kind of like a half Italian team. Everyone speaks Italian, apparently. Vincenzo Nibali. So Aaron Baru goes out, Nibali comes in. How do you feel about that? Is that better or worse now?
Well, that's a very difficult question to respond to, and I don't know yet. Who knows? Who knows? They might change their heart before the season starts, but I've got no confidence in my unblocking by then. But Vincenzo Nibali signing for Astana, I've got the same feeling as I had when he signed for Trek Segafredo. They are probably going to desire GC ambitions from him, and I personally don't see that as a hardcore Nibali stan. I got to be realistic about his weaknesses, and right now it's the fact that other people are better, and he's at a level right now that is not competable at such heights. Now, I do believe the Giro is the one where he might be better off going, not necessarily because his TT is utterly shit, but it's not the best in the world, but also the fact that it's Italy and it gives them the marketing aspect of that as well. But all in all, I want to see him do stages, and I've said this for years. I'm like that Bernie Sanders meme where I say, I'm once again asking you to send Vincenzo Nibali to a Grand Tour to win stages because, well, I would love to just have him go for stage and be free in doing that. Just see him attack more because it's kind of boring to see him drop off the back of a GC group every day.
I don't know. I mean, the Giro next year, it kind of does suit him. Like,
yeah,
some descents. I'm almost his Giro de Sicilia result. Benji 2-1
Jesus
race.
Christ, no, don't.
Yeah, I reckon he's back. I reckon
Alessandro Covi almost followed him. And again, he's bloody talented.
Back. He won Giro de Sicilia GC. The Giro goes down to Sicily next year after Hungary.
It goes to Sicily almost every year. We use that excuse every year.
It passes through his hometown of Messina. It passes through Messina. Yeah. It would be disrespectful if he doesn't go for GC. He's going for GC at the Giro. It's the law. But I think a lot of pressure's taken off him, and I think the reason the Vlasov exodus is not as concerning to me is they got a better rider coming in, falling into their lap. Miguel Angel Lopez, winner of back-to-back Queen stages, the hardest stages of the year in 2020 and 2021, Col de la Loze and I don't know why I said that like it's a Catalan name, Col de la Loze and Gamoniteru. He's falling into their lap, probably not on that big a sum because he really didn't have a great negotiating position. I think Lopez is a huge upgrade on Vlasov, Benji, in terms of overall rider upside?
I think so as well, but I do believe that the Grand Tour parcours, I've got some doubt about it in the sense that you've got the Giro this year where it's climbing but no high altitude.
Doesn't suit him.
And you've got the Tour de France with lots of time trial but high altitude. So
no GC. No GC. Just win the Queen stage.
Just every Queen stage, okay.
Yeah.
He's like Merlier, but for mountain stages.
Legit, yeah. He's the inverse Merlier. I still think he'd come 5th in the Tour and win a Queen stage. I think that's what I see for him, kind of like what was going to happen in the Vuelta. If he stayed in, came 6th, won Queen stage.
But they said Lutsenko would be their leader in GC on their presentation day.
Well, then he can definitely go for stages, although that probably indicates that he's going to go for GC at the Giro, which I don't really... Or maybe GC at the Vuelta. We don't know the Vuelta parcours yet. I don't know.
You can do both the Giro and the Vuelta if you're Lopez. Come on.
Yeah. Or even Tour Lopez.
82 race days again.
Maybe. I think Lopez, huge upgrade. 1-1-1-2 challenge with like an obscene time. I think, yeah. I'm high on Lopez, and I'm very sympathetic to Lopez and what happened this year. Other riders have come in, 3 Ineos riders, 2 of which are are on the tail end of their career, Basso and Henao from Ineos. But the one in
career?
Henao.
For Basso, sorry. No offense.
Good domestique, wasn't he? Also, we should say with Nibali coming in, his brother also gets a contract because, that's how it is. But Moscon comes in, Benji, from Ineos, and I think free Moscon has begun.
I agree. I believe this is a very good signing. I believe this frees Moscon from his incredible chaining events at Ineos. Then again, he had the opportunities in couple races already, but I think it's now broader. I believe that if you go with Lopez to the Giro, don't bloody chain Moscon in that race.
No,
let him do whatever he wants in the Giro and get 1 or 2 stage wins with a loosened up Moscon, because he can do that. He certainly can do that, and he's versatile on all terrains in that aspect. But I'm really curious because Moscon is that versatile that you can send him to lots of races, lots of types of races. And I'm curious at what we're going to look at in a second after we do all the transfers, where we'd send them.
I don't know. But just to recap, Moscon this year, he won 2 stages at Tour of the Alps, sort of, good hilly stages, sort of like when he won Giro della Toscana. He won a Swiss race around Lugano, 9th in San Sebastian, and then Giro, who's a fantastic domestique early doors.
Doesn't he live in Lugano? I vaguely recall
Probably.
that from
a lot
that
of the
day.
Italians live there, yeah, because it's slightly more preferential tax arrangements. 4th at Roubaix and top 10s in other Italian races, and Roubaix obviously could have, should have won it, whatever. But he's obviously competing for the win there. He's now, Benji alluded to it, he's now their best classics rider, and it's not close. And I don't think he's on. I don't know if he's on that much money. Do you reckon Ineos let him go? I reckon Ineos were happy to let him go, Benji.
I think so as well. I've heard a few stories, and
they copped a lot of stick for him, right? The reason I say that, that's why I was asking. Sorry, they copped a lot of stick for him, but didn't they extend him silently as well? They had the chance to let him go last year, and they extended him a year and didn't announce it. So I was like, maybe they're just happy to cop the stick because he gets good results and he's a great versatile domestique. Does that change your opinion at all? Because now I sort of don't know why they let him go.
Yeah, I kind of don't know either, and it's a good point. It's a good point, but I actually want to throw it back a few seconds ago because you said he would be the leading star in cobble races because he's the best by far. But we heard the news a few months ago. Was it 2 months ago? October 27th, I think, from what I read here. There was this article on Cycling News that was pointing out that he is actually eyeing all 5 monuments, Nibali, to ride that, and also the Giro. So might that not take the leadership away from Moscon?
Imagine Nibali asking Moscon to set him up
in front of Coffee the Ladder.
Yeah. Nibali watched our Pogacar All 5 Monuments video and was like, fuck these guys, why didn't they make a video about me winning all 5 monuments? But yeah, Moscon I think is a great signing. I think Freyler is sort of the replacement. He's coming from Astana to Ineos. I think they're going to try and use Freyler as what Moscon was at Ineos, probably on a lower price and maybe, I don't know, a bit better climber than Moscon as well. But, riders like Moscon, for whatever you think of him, talent-wise, ability-wise, and the versatility he has, they're not everywhere. And that's why he gets a deal at Astana.
Do you think the public perception of a rider can influence the amount of money that a certain rider gets? For example, Moscon is not the most popular rider in the world. Do you think that influences his contract?
Well, yes, because not necessarily from Astana's perspective. I think Astana's, one of the most Italian teams in the Kazakh. I don't think it matter that much. It changes if that means 2 of the 4 teams that would have bid for you are out of the running.
Yeah.
Then market economics would say maybe the price goes down a bit. I don't think EF would sign him, but so yes, I do think so. Moving on to David de la Cruz from UAE, which I didn't even realize, Benji, he's going to Astana.
Oh wow, I didn't even realize it either.
Yeah, I actually see him training all the time. He always gives me a big wave. I just don't understand this one. I'm kind of gobsmacked by this one. Why?
I think he has a decent result at the Vuelta this year, 7. That's good for De La Cruz in my eyes. His GC at Burgos getting, was it 6th or 5th there, if I recall correctly? So all in all, those GCs are there, but where can you use him? Do you send him just to the Vuelta as well, or do you use him as support for Lopez, in a sense? Or stages? Because I do believe that De La Cruz is strong enough to win stages if he goes in breakaways.
Didn't he attack from the GC group on Jamoniteru when the pace was lower and try and bridge across?
Yeah, you're right. But also he attacked on that stage that Bike Exchange was pacing for Matthews on the Roglic finish, where he attacked the climb before for no reason at all.
Yeah, funny one. I think a rider like David de la Cruz probably gets paid pretty handsomely, and 7th at the Vuelta, 20 minutes back, it's just not something I'm particularly interested in, frankly. And I don't see too much changing at Astana. Andre Zeitz, 1-year deal from Bike Exchange, older Kazakh rider. I think that's sort of a deal before transitioning into staff. Joe Dombrowski just won a Giro stage from UAE. He's come from UAE as well. A lot of UAE riders coming across with Valerio Conti, who don't have that many results as well. Simone Velasco from Gazprom Velo. He's actually quite good. He's got some good results around this year. Sorry, I'll just run through them quickly. And now from Ineos, bit done. Rybushenko, actually young. I want to stop and talk about him in a second. Basso, Benji mentioned Nibali. Gazzoli, young, talented rider I want to talk about, as well as Nurbergerem Nurkasiam from Vino Astana Motors, their Conti team. He actually has some he's all right results at Worlds. But sorry, Benji, going back to Belasco, have you got any thoughts on him?
Well, I mainly remember him from Conti races and races like, was it Malaysia and so forth, where he was riding GC for Gazprom back in the day. But I just looked up the wrong Velasco because I've got someone that rode in 1958, so that's probably the wrong person. But he's actually got some good results in Italian classics. Del Veneto, Agostoni, top 5 in that race, for example. Sure, it was the kind of race where Lutsenko destroyed Trenton because he reacted as fast as Iran did to Vinokurov at the Olympics a few years ago. But all in all, he's got talent. He does it at Conti races, but I think he's good enough to be on this team. And I kind of surprised that it took that long for him to get a contract like this, because I feel like he's had similar results quite a bit throughout previous years, but he's probably locked up at Gazprom in that sense. But all in all, I think he's a good rider. I remember him mainly from Italian Pro Conti teams back in the Neri Sottole and Bardiani. But I also want to talk about Rybushenko, like you were planning to do. He's kind of rider that had a lot of talent in the past. He was shouted a lot, I think, 4 years ago, when he first joined UAE Team Emirates. And I think the main memories from him is that he's a bit of a punchy guy with a bit of a sprint, so also fitting those Italian classics. But he wasn't there for the majority of the season here, and he only really had results in one of the Tour of the Alps stages in such a finish, and also in one of the was it Copia Bartali week, Settimana Ciclista Italiana race, also a similar parkour with hilly parkour and a flat sprint at the end just after Ulysses. So he's got that skill, but I also recall him doing a very shady sprint deviation in the past, almost pushing someone in the barrier, but I don't think that's memory we need to keep from this rider, unfortunately.
I had really high expectations for him based on his 18-19. I think I picked him for every single slightly uphill finish from a break in 2020 Vuelta because he came third at Pantani and Sabatini. So I was like, and he's quite quick. So, but he disappointed. He just wasn't there. And then 2021's been a continuation of that, really. Apart from a few results Benji's mentioned, the last half of this year, it's just DNF City. So 26, don't know what's going on there. But there was some talent there. Maybe he was demotivated at UAE. Dombrowski, I think, as I said, was fine. And then Gazzoli for Kolpak Balan. He's young. He's talented. I think that's a fantastic, not fantastic, but a really solid signing. 22, won a race this year and was sort of there or thereabouts competitive at Pantani, etc. And they do all these races, Astana, and it's good for them to have Italians on board. And I think Gazzoli, not Gazzoli particularly, but Simone Belasco is kind of like a Fellini replacement, is what I sort of see him as, even though Fellini's still on the team. So don't mind the signings, although most of them, do you think Dombrowski's going to win another stage next year in the Grand Tour, Benji?
I think it's possible because he almost got close to 2 instead of 1 this year. But then again, it was contract year, so perhaps that has an influence in motivation. But didn't he win one at the Giro and he got second after, was it Tarame in the Vuelta? So yeah, he definitely got close on a few. So there's a possibility to do it again. It all depends on what they send him to and if they have GC opportunities in both the Giro and the Tour settled or ready to happen, or what they do in that sense, because it's kind of a team that's kind of all over the place, because these riders could certainly fit together if you think about it long enough, but it's not like you can straight away say, this rider is going to lead that, and that. This rider is going to be domestique there, or is he going to go for stages, that kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot of decision-making that will happen behind the scenes, whether they want to hunt for stages a lot and perhaps have one rider go for GC in a certain race without too much support, or whether they want to really focus on a rider. And I think it's most likely going to be the first one.
Let's get into their picking their teams now for various races, and it's still, when we go first to the Cobble Classics, it's still not great. I think they'll have like
Nibali.
he's not.
He's
doing
going.
it.
Yeah, he's doing RVV and Roubaix.
Are you trolling, or is he actually doing that?
I'm not kidding. He's going to all 5 monuments this year, according to what is reported.
What the fuck is going
on?
on?
He got 23rd at RVV at some point in the one that Terpstra won, where he launched Terpstra to the victory accidentally.
Okay, fine, whatever. Nibali's
Come
doing
on.
So Nibali's on the start list for them. But what about Omloop, Kerner, and Wevelgem? Surely he's not doing them.
I don't think so either.
We'll have who's the guy that got disqualified? He's probably doing it. Fedorov. We'll have Moscon, I think. Honestly, Lutsenko is really good in these races. I want to see Lutsenko back at them and doing those races. He's really, really good in those
Not at Hill
races.
Classics then?
That's the thing.
Combination.
That's the thing. Who then does the Ardennes? And that's tough. Maybe he splits it between him and Moscon. But yeah, you're right. That's the problem. And I don't have the right answer for you. But I'm going with Moscon, Lutsenko, Nibali, and then a mixture of whoever else wants to turn up. Leonardo Basso and co. Any stronger thoughts from your end, Benji, on who must go as well?
Not really. I think the majority of those riders are definitely the ones that will end up going. I think Davide Martinelli will probably end up in the team for those cobble races. Probably another Kazakh that will join the squad as well. Perhaps that Nurli Kasim guy, because he had 35th at U23 road race, World Championships in Flanders. So it kind of certainly fits in that area, I would dare to say. But yeah, I think we're scrapping the bottom of the barrel to find a full team in common races, and we're not going to find it that easily.
I still think like Lutsenko can randomly win one. I think he can.
Well, it depends whether his sprint compatriot or competition is Trenton in a 1-2-1 sprint at the end of the day.
Exactly, but I think he and Moscon pretty good combo. Okay, Hilly Classics again, Moscon and Lutsenko pretty busy. Dombrowski as well, Valerio Conti, Rybashenko,
Nibali.
Nah, Nibali's he's not allowed. He's got to do Liège. He said sorry. Javier Romo, Benji. We haven't mentioned him yet. Spanish rider, 22 years old. Oh, geez, I forgot he was that young. He was pretty good in Slovenia. He's all right in Slovenia.
Turkey, I think, was it?
Turkey.
No, it wasn't actually.
Settimana, he came 5th, and he had a second. And he, for a 22-year-old, pretty solid, turned 23 shortly. Is he someone you throw into a Liège in the Amstel, given that they don't even have that much depth?
Good question. I remember him winning U23 NC of Spain last year, but I don't know what parkour that was personally. But all in all, I've had a hard time figuring out whether he's the kind of GC rider that only does well on GC kind of mountains and against lesser competition, to be honest, looking at Copia Bartali. But then again, Copia Bartali is also kind of a hilly race, and the races where he did get very close was, for example, that 4th stage in Copia Bartali. It kind of has hills all over the place, an entire circuit with hills in the last 50 kilometers. Vingegaard wins a sprint against Romo, Nick Schultz third. So he's beating Nick Schultz and Hayter for the sprint there. So he can't be that slow in a bit of a punch then.
Yeah. I can send him. Why not? Did you know that Sebastian announced 28 years old?
I thought he was older.
Yeah, so did I. He's 28. Anyway, he's on a 1-year deal. Not sure if he's done Liège 3 times on my body, 3 times. Kind of send him as well. But yeah, I think, would you send, does Lopez do Flesh? Lopez has never done LBL. Did you know that? Never done it.
And didn't he win Torino a few years ago, or a combination of?
Yeah, he won Torino in 2016.
Oh, that's such a long time ago. Jesus Christ.
He's only 27. He's still got the watts. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, why not send him there? I kind of, I say that, but then I'm like, but you could just send him to Tour de Suisse where he can just win, So rather than coming 8th or
Well,
not even
there's a lot of
best
time
case.
trials there, so
True.
you're not sure.
Jeez, you're low on the Miguel and Lopez TT.
It's so inconsistent. Sometimes he's a
great.
god in Algarve, for example, last year, and then the rest of the time trials are kind of like, okay, he's washed up.
It's pretty consistently bad, I think. So now on to the Giro team, which is I think now we're getting to a bit of an easy one. I reckon, Benji, this is my one. Basso,
Yeah.
Pronsky. I think Pronsky's pretty good. The two, does Antonio go? No, Vincenzo, Moscon. Who's the other guy? Belasco, Dombrowski, and Brusensky, Gleb Brusensky as well. I think he's okay. I think he might be in there. No, he's in that classic squad. I apologize. Taking him out.
So you're not taking Lopez to the Giro?
No Lopez, no Lutsenko. They've been very, very busy with Ardennes and other things, winning Tour de Suisse.
Okay, I would also go for I would take both Nibelis because Antonio does have some moments where he's a really decent domestique. He's not a shit domestique, as in like Leonardo Basso. Okay, this is becoming a bit of a Basso bashing here, but I believe that Basso's the bottle guy. And I think that they need that. And I think that he's going to be that perhaps at the Giro, but I'm not certain about that. Probably because he's probably a friend of Moscon at some point. So Moscon would probably go to the Giro for those stage wins. Bronsky, I would dare to say yes. But the question is, what would Nibali do? And he's likely going to end up going for GC, which is kind of sad. So what's the point of Pronsky in the team? Then is he, if he's not going, let's say Nibali's not going for GC. Yeah, if he's for GC, yes. But imagine if Nibali doesn't go for GC, because that's probably how it's going to end up in week 3. What happens then?
I would send Pronsky for GC.
You think he's going to do better than Nibali?
I think this kid's pretty good.
I think he's good as well.
I think he's pretty good. I'd give him a chance and let free Nibali, Moscon, and have Nibali attack on descents and Moscon follow and crash. I think Pronsky has to go to the Giro. It suits him to suit him more. I agree with you on Antonio as well. And then in breaks, Fellini or Gazzoli or Rybachenko.
Too young, I think, Gazzoli.
Yeah, you're
might
right.
be too early.
I love just sending like children to Grand Tours, like
that sentence out of context.
The Androni kid, the 18-year-old Ukrainian, they sent him gave him a week's notice to do the Giro. Poor guy. I mean, he made it through. He's pretty good. Tejada Benji, he did the Giro this year, but Provence, he attacked or pulled 24. I was very high on him. He's still another 2 years there, but he really. Did he get COVID or something? I don't know, but there's a 3-month gap between Giro and Burgos, and then not too much racing afterwards. So he I say had a disappointing year, but I would send him to the Giro as well.
I would dare to say so as well, because he was pretty decent as domestique in the Giro still, despite Vlasov not getting that podium. But all in all, I think that I recall him having more ambition. I think last year we spoke about Tejada wanting to do something GC-wise at a certain race, and we didn't really see that, and it feels like he stagnated a bit in that sense. But hey, I guess he's not 30 yet, so he's got some years to still bolster himself into a certain area, and that might allow him to probably end up being a mountain domestique again.
Yeah, I thought he was sort of on the road to being a really top guy, and yeah, mate, we'll see this year. Tour de France team, I'm going with Lopez, Lutsenko for stages. I know that's not what they're going to do, but this is my time to tell them what to do. I would send Moscon. I would send, and then a mixture of people who want to go, who feel like going. Yeah, that's the core of my team: Lopez and Lutsenko.
How is the Lanterne Rouge GC team decided? We select 3 riders and all the rest can fight for the other spots.
Well, I mean, just because I don't know if Tejada is going to be flying. I don't know whether Javier Roma is going to be really good. I think it's just a lot of question marks here. Like Valerio Conti, is he? or Felina. There's a lot of guys that I think they need to fight for a spot here. And so, yeah, it's almost impossible to pick except for the likes of Lutsenko, Moscon, Lopez, although Moscon I've loaded up with a pretty heavy schedule so far.
Okay. So you're setting Lopez for GC, right? Or did I completely mishear that?
Yes, I'm doing the cardinal sin of GC plus stages, which is not possible. But it's not
Except for
possible for
Lopez.
Mike Woods, but Lopez can do it.
Yeah, certainly. With the altitude that we've got in the
Yeah.
Tour de France, I agree on that aspect. So I would also dare to say that Lopez GC plus stages. I believe when it comes to Lutsenko, you kind of see how things go the first week, because you've got this first week in the Grand Tour where it has a time trial and so forth. Look after week one where he is. And if he's like 5th or 4th in GC, then you could consider keeping that up. And if Lopez is not there anymore and has to go for stages, then you can move to Lutsenko going for GC. But it's a harsh decision, I think, to say, he's gonna have to go for a top 10 here, because I don't know, but I don't recall Lutsenko at high altitude yet.
I don't know, for example, the Dauphiné, he was in first overall in GC before La Plan with Padun, and he lost a minute to Badun, and he lost. He didn't lose that much time to like the Koos and Lopez of the world, to be honest. I don't know. I think the start of the tour kind of suits him, because I'm pretty high on him as a cobbler, actually, or just in classics or mixed terrain. So yeah,
Moscon to the tour then.
Yeah, I think Moscon should do the tour as well. And then I'm doing
every Grand Tour as well.
This is the problem, Benji. This is the problem, and we're talking. Let's say we're done with the tour now, and we don't know the Vuelta parcours with other teams like Bike Exchange. I was just like, okay, the Vuelta, it's time to let your developing sprinter have a chance. Where's the sprinter here? Like, it's such a glaring omission. They have no cobblers, no sprinters. It makes it so much harder to get wins.
I agree, and it's not only competing in the top level races that we're talking about.
No, all the Italian ones.
But to the Polonia, for example, you can't even put a sprinter there here in this team. At least I don't see in this team the sprinter that they should be going for. Perhaps Battistella has a bit of a sprint, but it's not that kind of sprint. It's a kind of punch after a hilly terrain, I would dare to say. So same problem there, and I think they've got that for the entire team. And I think that has been the case since, when was the last time they had a sprinter at Astana? Guardini and Alan Davis back in the day?
Mate, I don't know. Alan Davis now at Lotto Sodal, by the way, but he was at...
I think he was there as well at some point, or I could be wrong.
I don't know. But you're right, they just... I can't recall one off the top of my head quickly. It's where someone like Bauhaus, who we meme a little bit, he actually has a fair bit of value in that he is a rider who is overqualified, even more so than the Mareshkos of this world, to go to a pro race, go to Deutschland or Polonia or Slovenia or Hungary, all these races, or Provence, and win. And, he has, let's see, this year, won like 6-7 races, one at World Tour level, 3 at .pro level. He's almost had a better season himself than Astana, excluding GC results.
Yeah,
seriously.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Dauphiné win is obviously big for Lutsenko, but yeah, I think you're right. It's just, this is a glaring omission. And when I look at the team, like, Benji, would you rather sign like a half decent sprinter, like a pretty good one, even Mareshko, Benji, for the races they do? Wouldn't you rather have signed Mareshko than Valerio Conti and De La Cruz?
Perhaps those two are not the ones I would be replacing.
They're on good money.
Perhaps De La Cruz as well, but Mareshko is the kind of rider that would, in the same way as Guardini did in the past, win those smaller races, or at least compete in small races, and could even compete in bigger races, because Mareshko is the kind of guy that has like one very good sprint at a certain point in a World Tour race as well sometimes. And I feel like they're indeed missing that. And we're talking about Mareshko here, but I feel like there's a lower degree. Like, a Conti sprinter without a contract is a better sprinter than what they have on
Michael
these
Rime
right now.
Michael Rime, the Estonian. Like, wouldn't he be just a valuable addition to just compete? Because like, here's the thing: I'm going to really re-explain cycling 101 to people. Not a lot of parkour are flat, and on flat parkour, 99% of the time in this sort of professional level, not U23s or juniors, it ends up being a bunch sprint. And if you don't have a bunch sprinter, what happens? You can't win the bunch sprint. So
Really?
if you don't have any bunch sprinters on your team, you are saying at the start of the year, despite the schedule and races we're going to go to, we are not going to be able to win or even compete for a top 5 at like 40% of these races. And I think that's a team construction problem with Astana, more so than the cobble thing. Because, like, listen, people that are really good cobblers, they're expensive, and if you're not a Belgian team, they don't, then they're hard to come by. But sprinters like Benji mentioned, I mean, I'm sure if you follow Benji on his PCO on YouTube, there's all these sprinters that he knows them better than I do. Like, yeah, that's right.
Vinali's out of contract, but then again, he didn't have his best moment of the year. So that's one of those riders. And Norman Vatra is also relatively fast, was riding at Israel, I think, and is now out of contract as well. You've got Attilio Viviani, or is he going to Cofidis? Because I don't think that has been announced yet. Oh, is he going to Cofidis? What am I saying? Is he joining his brother? Because it would be pretty funny if you take Attilio Viviani away.
Even like Hugo Hofstetter, he's probably under contract. But no, Hugo Hofstetter changed team, Benji. He went to Arkea. He's quite good. Banishek, Moschetti, did he? No, he's on the same team.
Yuri Leitao, that Portuguese guy that signed for Caja, signed him at Astana. You've got a sprinter in at least 1.1 or 2.1 races.
The Eric Basker guy, I think he's gone down to like Conti level as well. He was on Bora Hansgrohe. I know he's not
might have been deserved.
I know. But like, yeah, there's Michael Rime, I've already said. Chimolai changed teams, Benji. Chimolai can compete in some of those races.
Richese, just resurrect him. He got third in that sprint.
It's a serious podcast. Alvaro Hodge. Why is Alvaro Hodge? Okay, the answer is money. Alvaro Hodge going to UAE along with Milano, the Trident, Milano, Gaviria. Alvaro Hodge should be lead out chaos. Like, isn't Hodge someone that they need? Is like
Danny Van Poppel?
Yeah, like surely Van Poppel, if a World Tour team said we want you to be our sprinter instead of just a lead out man for Sam Bennett. Anyway, this has been a long rant about Astana's lack of sprinter, but it applies to some other teams as well. Like even Ineos sprung for Viviani this year. Last thoughts, Benji, on Astana's team. Where do you see the best performance coming from? They've sent the Spanish Exodus, all the Basque guys gone. Where do you see the top performances? I see it from Lopez. I see Lopez winning a few races here.
I agree that Lopez is going to be a hitter for this team, and I believe that Lopez might have full support here, which doesn't happen often in teams that Lopez has been a part of in the past. But in all honesty, I also think that they've got the riders to win stages, but I would have said the same last year and they failed to do so. So it's kind of the thing that we know these riders are capable of winning stages, but they have to do it with combining their qualities with each other, or these riders compatible in races. We're going to have to figure that out in the races themselves. And I would dare to say they should be able to win a few World Tour Grand Tour stages, let's say 2 or 3, in my opinion, with the team they have, because Afreed Moscon is a big hitter, and I think that Afreed Moscon might be showing himself a lot next year.
4.5. Oh, that's too low. Yeah, is it 4.5 World Tour wins over under?
More.
I'm going the over. I think depth-wise, it's still not good. And I think in terms of picking up, like, being competitive at .pro races, still not fantastic either. But I just think Lutsenko, Moscon, and Lopez will win some big races because they should have close to unfettered leadership. I even think Nibali could pick up a .pro here or there. But yeah, I'm taking the over on 4.5. Monuments, Benji, you think they top 3 a Monument?
Do I think they top 3 a Monument? Yes, I think they do.
Which one?
I
Like
think
a
that
Cobble Classic with Moscon or something?
that's a good question though. I think perhaps, but I don't know. I can't tell you that. I just think that they've got the riders for it, but I have a hard time picking them. Like, yes, Moscon can podium a couple race, but I haven't seen him at RVV recently. What do you think he will do at RVV? Because I feel like he should be able to do that pretty well.
I don't think they podium a monument.
No,
No, I don't see it.
it's also not going to be my hot take because I got a few other ones that are pretty cool.
Okay, let's get into the hot takes then. What are your hot takes for Astana?
Well, I still needed time to think about them, but
I've got mine locked and loaded.
Okay, you can go first.
I think Miguel Angel Lopez top fives the Tour de France and wins a stage, as well as winning a World Tour stage race in 2022. I think Moscon wins 2 Giro stages, and I think Lutsenko wins a spring Cobble Classic.
Okay.
I reckon they're hot. I reckon especially the Lutsenko one, it's pretty hot.
Yeah, I reckon I agree on that one. I agree that it's pretty hot. I think that Moscon is going to win 4 World Tour races this season.
4, holy
I've
shit.
got confidence in Moscon being freed. And
imagine
I think
he's chained to Nibali this year.
I would cry. Well, if he's chained, then he needs to make sure he doesn't crash in a descent, like you mentioned already.
True, yeah.
But when it comes to the rest of the team, what's hot? That's a good question. I believe that. Do you think that at the end of the season we'll see the Vinokurov brothers join this team already, or do you think that's going to be for the future?
How they're like 20? One's like teenagers, 20. I don't know. It's probably a bit early, but I guess he's back in control now. I think in terms of, do you think Nibali stays on? He's on a 1-year deal.
I think it depends on the season.
Yeah,
if he resurrects himself like Cavendish did, then he might be able to pinch another year out of that. Whether he wants to lower his salary at the end of the year after a bad year also depends on that. Stuff like that. But it feels like we're getting to a point. Nibali keeps saying that age doesn't matter too much. But we're getting to a point where he's riding 5 monuments in a season. That has to say something. Where he's like, I need to do everything fast, quick, because my time is running out, it feels like. But I don't know. Perhaps he's trying to hunt for that 5 monuments, or at least win a few more, or one more. Try and win one more monument in the same way that nobody expected him to win Milano Sanremo that 1 year. But I just don't kind of see it.
I think Vadim Pronsky top 10s the Giro.
Okay.
Nice.
You're very hyped about him. I feel like it's gone up. You're hyped throughout the year, and it's like peaking right now.
He did one good pull in the third week of Vlasov, and it's like, this guy is fucking good.
Yes.
Even though, no, actually, he won Giro Ciclistico della Valle d'Aosta Mont Blanc like in 2018 ahead of, he beat Lorenzo Fortunato Benji on GC and Ina Rubio. So,
I've got a hot take.
Yeah.
He hasn't done this all season this year, but I believe that Leonardo Bassa will top 20 a race. Any race.
I mean, yeah, like surely, like one of the, like this.
He did do it all season. Oh, he did 20th.
But they'll send him to like the Giro del Veneto. He's only 27.
Yeah.
Oh wow. They'll send him to. Imagine if he was Australian. No chance. He has a deal. Yeah, probably like Giro del Veneto, the Filippo Pozzato races. He'll go to maybe backdoors the 20th there. But yeah. Anyway, maybe he's their sprinter. But that was Astana. A big year of change for them. Vino's back. Whether the team goes back to, say the 2020, they were really good then. Down year this year.
One more thing.
Yes, sir.
Do you believe that I'm going to get unblocked by Astana this year or not?
Yeah.
What are the bets?
I reckon you'll get unblocked.
Okay.
I reckon you will.
I expect a formal apology from the president of Kazakhstan.
What about when we do the Movistar preview? I'm kind of scared to email them asking if Aaron Brew is available to do an interview in English. What if we get the pod account blocked by Movistar? No, actually, Movistar are pretty good.
Yeah, they've got a pretty good social media response team.
Anyway, I reckon you'll be unblocked, but let us know what happens with Benji getting unblocked by Astana. Perhaps he deserves to get blocked. Maybe he should be. I don't know. Let us know down below. But that was the Astana recap preview. Quite a long one, but quite an interesting and unique team. And I'll be interested to see how Lutsenko goes after quite a good year for him. Until the next one. Ciao.